Welcome to the Affiliate BI podcast, brought to you by StatsDrone. This episode is going to be just basically 10 of the most recent SEO guests we've had on the show, and I want to do like a top 10 insights, top 10 SEO insights that I think would be very interesting just to go through one by one, and I'll give it a little bit of commentary as I go through all the insights. Every time I record a podcast episode, I always will get at least one insight that becomes the start of the show. Sometimes I'm pulling multiple insights, and I just have a collection of amazing, good clips that I just want to share with you. So looking forward to jumping right in, and I hope you enjoy this episode. First up is Eric Su, who is the founder of Single Grain. And Eric's a well-known marketer. He does SEO, does a lot of everything in e-commerce. And I asked him a whole bunch of different questions, and this one is on programmatic SEO. And he kind of breaks down the simplicity of programmatic SEO and gives a real case example of how you can implement programmatic SEO. I think when it comes to affiliates, there's a lot of different ways in which you can consider it, but it all kind of comes down to having data to run with.
There was a Google helpful content update, and there was basically a Google AI update that happened in the last couple months. There's another update that happened with the site reputation abuse update that happened. Programmatic SEO is, I'll share a real life example here. It's about building templated pages at scale based on geographic keywords or, different type of, you can have different type of modifiers, right? It could be like HubSpot alternatives, Salesforce alternatives, those types of keywords, right? Now, if I were to simplify based on geographic or geography, you might do fun things to do in Rome, fun things to do in Japan, fun things to do in Los Angeles, right? And that's why a site like TripAdvisor drives over 131 million visitors per month from SEO alone. And that traffic alone, if they were to pay for it, would be $67 million a month for that traffic. So it's a lot of money. And they rank for about 24 million keywords. The key thing for them is they're creating so many permutations of these pages, and they're generating these pages programmatically that when you combine the sheer amount of volume that they're producing plus their domain authority, they're able to rank for all these, right? Now, the key thing with if you want to do programmatic SEO, if we want to get into it a little bit, is that you need to make sure that you're designing these page templates, and you need to make sure that the keywords that you're going after are actually the keywords that make sense for you. And often these are, middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel type keywords. And you got to make sure that you're pruning these pages too, because if you're going to produce tens of thousands of these pages, you can't produce a bunch of crap, right? You actually have to be reviewing these pages. So I'll stop right there. I'll pause for a second, but that's the high level for programmatic SEO.
Next up is our guest Eli Schwartz, who is the author of Product-Led SEO. Just want to talk about his book very quickly. I wasn't sure if his book would be evergreen and timeless, but when I read it, I said, this is it's got to be the best book on SEO ever written. And I think even 10 years from now, the book is still going to be on point and relevant. So what I like about what he talks about in this insight I'm going to share with you is the idea of productizing whatever it is you do as a means of SEO. It's like, build the product first, focus on the users, do something that's kind of maybe outside the box, and that could be your power play towards gaining SEO authority. And sure enough, after all these Google updates, Eli's right. If you look at all the companies that have solid products, they've been some of the biggest gainers in SEO and affiliate marketing. So check this one out.
What was interesting with Credit Karma back then is that concept of getting your free credit report didn't exist. That you didn't get a score. You only got reports, and you had to go to the bureaus and request it, and you get it once a year. And what Credit Karma's innovation is we're going to buy it for you. We're going to pay TransUnion. We're going to make a deal with the Experian, and we're going to access it, and we're going to pay them. And that's our core product. So you're going to come to us to get something you can't get elsewhere. But in this process, we'll learn a lot about you. And ultimately, again, when Credit Karma started, all they were trying to do was flip leads. They were trying to say, oh, this is your credit score. You can get a mortgage, and we'll refer you over to this lender. You can get a new credit card. We'll refer you over to this credit card. Then they added on other financial products, to the point where anything, and they know everything about you. And that's, of course, why Intuit bought them. So that's fascinating.
Next guest is Mark Wright. He was the 2014 winner of the UK Apprentice. And his project on that Apprentice show was trying to sell an SEO agency, which personally at the time, I didn't think his SEO agency was going to be the type of thing that Lord Sugar would actually invest in. I just thought it had no chance. But he sold it to him, and then he sold his strategy for how he got SEO clients. And I think there's a lot of insight here. Even though this insight is going to be perfect for the SEO agency that needs to hear this of how they're going to win more business, but I think it applies in everything. It applies in marketing, it applies to sales, and it applies in affiliate marketing. So I really like this next clip from Mark.
A lot of consulting I do now, or coaching work I do with SEO or digital marketing agencies, is I say to them, you are great at what you do. You don't need to say all this or show all this to the customer, because you're overcomplicating and you're over confusing the customer. You do all of the brilliant stuff, and with your team, you talk the tech language and you can say things until you're blue in the face. But when you're with the customer, when you're pitching, you make everything understandable for them. You make them feel important, because people don't like to feel stupid. And when you start going in with all the digital marketing jargon, all of a sudden you create an us and them environment. And the business owners just thinking, I don't get these people. I don't like these people. They're asking me for money and I just don't get it. And I think that's where I've had a lot of success in my career.
I'm going to share this with all of my SEO friends that do SEO agency. They need to hear this.
Thank you. Listen, a few years ago, I wouldn't have told you because it was my secret sauce, but I've sold my SEO agency for many millions of pounds and many tens of millions of dollars. And now I can say it happily.
This guest is Julian Goldie, who is, I would say, maybe not an up-and-coming SEO anymore because he's already made a name for himself in the SEO space. But what I liked about what he had to share was that he had a lot of experience himself personally using video and using YouTube to make sales. But he shares the insight of how it transfers to the affiliate marketing space by saying, look, it might be an easier channel to rank because there's less competition, but people want to buy from people. And I think Julian's clip should give an insight to affiliate marketers of going, how are they going to use video as part of their SEO playbook?
If you gave me a choice and you're like, right, Julian, you've got a choice to make as much money as you can as an affiliate with either YouTube or with a website on Google, I'm going to pick YouTube every day of the week because the traffic converts so well. It's very easy to create content at scale with video if you have the right processes. So if you make it as efficient as possible, then you can create a lot of good quality video content and rank it pretty well. So you're not just getting that traffic for your video there, but also if you do it in the right way, you can rank on Google too. Like, for example, for me last year, some months we were getting 1 million views a month from YouTube, which is absolutely outrageous. And a lot of that traffic actually came from Google search, like 96% of it. I would pick video every day of the week, like converts better. It's great for EAT. It's great for building a real brand. It's great for showing you're a real person. And in the age of AI, just differentiates your content from everyone else.
When I think about international SEO, there's actually only one SEO person I can actually think of that I would trust to go to, and that is Kira Koroshilova. And when I interviewed her, I actually remember going through this process, running affiliate sites, doing different languages and localizations and having to deal with hreflang and all this stuff. And I just remember the headaches of experiencing myself, going through this with other affiliate sites that I worked with and working with other SEO agencies that totally butchered it. And even today, it's kind of like when we look at who has the best practices of, can we reverse engineer someone who's doing it well? The answer is technically we can do that, but I still don't think there's too many authorities when it comes to international SEO. And I had a really good chat with Kira talking about this.
International SEO is still quite novel, to my surprise. Client that I work with, they started off with 67 separate websites with identical content in different languages targeting all these countries. They weren't making much money apart from the UK and the US market. And they had 67 domains they were paying for. And we consolidated all of them, gave them a strong international SEO strategy, and brought them from £500,000 to now £3 million. So, you know, the proof is in the pudding, and it just keeps going, the growth. So we have this client pool that are like, oh, interesting, I want to try this. And we take them from 0 to 100. But obviously that growth slows down when the strategy is already there, but it continues to improve every single month. So it works, you know, the concept is proven.
Next up is Jason Barnard, and he's known as the knowledge panel guy. If you want to think about having your name as a personality within Google, he's the knowledge panel expert. And Jason had a lot to say about using this knowledge panel concept as being an authority in a topic and using that authority, pushing it over to content. So he talks a lot about content. And I mean, I think for a lot of people, they think they understand what it means to write good content. But I think when you start analyzing sites, you can always find better and better. And Jason kind of highlights how you can be better, where if you want to build your authority, you start with really good content first and becoming the best at it.
If you're an affiliate site and you can't be transparent, you're going to struggle all the way, because human beings are looking for transparency. Notability is going to be important. Expertise and experience are going to be important. And if you think about what EEAT represents for Google, it's Google's emulation of what credibility looks like to human beings. They're trying to train a machine to judge like a human being what trust and credibility looks like. They're not there yet, but they're on the way there. So is it better to focus on where Google is going or where Google is now? I would argue it's better to aim on where it's going and make the most of what we've got today.
And you can't have any 10 SEO insights without talking about AI. And funny enough, a lot of the guests I talk to, AI comes up at least once in some of the chats. And when I first started chatting with Olga, maybe a year and a bit ago, she was diving headfirst into the world of AI. So I wanted to ask her, I said, now that you've spent a good 1+ years really getting into AI, I wanted to ask, how does she use AI and what does she recommend in terms of using it for content? And she had a lot of interesting insights that I would say are for and against it. More against it, but it's all within context and time and place. And as the SEO world says, it depends.
But initially, when it all started, I was like, wow, now I can be creating articles for my blog like every day, 5,000 words, and it will be cool. Like everyone had this wow effect. But when I started playing with that a little bit more, then I quickly realized, and I am almost certain about it now, that at least now, those AI tools won't replace that human element, that human brain, especially when we are talking about the business that has a brand, has a name to it. Like in the case of me, when I have my blog and I am the author of all the articles, all the videos, I don't think I could like massively use ChatGPT or any other AI tool to grow that.
And it's no surprise to keep the theme going when it comes to writing quality content. And I interviewed this next guest, Lukasz Żelazny, who he's got a reputation for being a technical SEO. He is a technical SEO. But despite talking about all the different aspects of technical SEO, he went right back into not just content, but going, hey, if you've produced the best article, how can you take it a step further? How can you introduce a new concept that's not been introduced before, which I think people and users are generally looking for anyways.
And another part of the story is obviously trying to go extra mile with the content. And what I call this, I like to call this like breaking the wall of text. Today, creating a wall of text, blah, 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 that no one will care about because we have access to AI, is so easy. And I feel like we reached the wall where a bunch of people is generating tons of content, and then a bunch of other people will start to creating AI that will be shortening that article into the bullet points because nobody wants to read 15,000 words.
Next is Carl Hudson, who I already know he's a technical SEO, and he shares an interesting insight that a lot of SEO pros he knows don't spend as much time looking through Google Search Console or GSC. And this is one thing that I've been learning over the past year of understanding what are the tips and tricks you can do with Google Search Console that you should pay attention to. And I've heard some SEOs say that it's probably the only tool you could live with.
The scary thing is I have quite a lot of conversations with SEOs, and
They don't even realize that you can check crawl stats inside Google Search Console. And these guys are like top guys, and they've never seen that section of Search Console. And it's like, oh, you should probably do that route first. But once you've done the Search Console route, then I would definitely suggest, if you can get the data, either use it utilizing Cloudflare, or if your server will just give you the data, because not all servers will give you the data, is trying to get the logs. Because yes, you've just optimized Search Console and the Google bot. However, there's a lot more bots out there, and you want to control these bots, because actually they could be, let's say, for instance, your time zone where most of your users are logging on is, 4 p.m. You could have a random bot hitting your website between the hours of 3 and 5, which is actually crushing your bandwidth on your website and slowing everything down.
And next guest is Ferry Cazzoni, who's the founder of Search Intelligence, who does digital PR. The next clip is very interesting, and I'm not sure how I can explain to people how Ferry does link building and digital PR, because I don't think it's something anyone's going to have an easy time to copy. It's kind of like you're more likely just to go and work with their agency. But he's got a very good insight about going, well, if you're going to do digital PR, you're essentially creating content for someone else to eventually link back to you and get that benefit. And I think this concept could even apply to guest posting or trying to get content and articles coming from outside of your site and your ecosystem going inward, which is the more effort you put into it, the more insightful that internal link is going to be. Whether you're doing it for digital PR reasons or you're doing it to say, hey, it's going to be not quite parasite SEO, but something similar, where you're saying, I want this page to rank because it's got its own strong authority. And if I get all these links pointing towards us or talking about us, brand mentions and all that, I think there's a lot to learn from what Ferry has to say.
So we sometimes put in 2 weeks of work in a campaign that, journalists would have to do otherwise. That's what they need. They need time. How do you give them time? Do the work that they would have to do. Go and scrape those websites like TripAdvisor, or go and, filter those data sets, put them together on your team, create a report and give it to them ready-made. That's what they want. So if you give them a very good work and based on what they write about consistently, not just once a year or once in 2 years, consistently, then you will have a great success there.
If you liked and appreciate all of these insights from these 10 amazing SEO guests, do me a massive favor. If you can subscribe, share, leave a comment, rating on wherever you listen to this podcast. It will help us game the system. And, we're trying to learn from all these different SEO people to help our own SEO needs. And I hope it helps you for what you need to do in your affiliate marketing business. And of course, if you are ever going to tap into these audio and video channels, there's definitely different ranking algorithms at play. So if you at least want to help me out, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a rating wherever you listen to this. Thanks a lot.